In an interview this weekend with NPR, Bishop Hirschfield explained what he meant by that very dramatic pronouncement. He said, quote, "What I said to the clergy was, I'm just asking you to live your life without fear of death. Be prepared. I'm not asking you to go look for that bullet. I'm simply saying be ready. Have your affairs in order. Have your soul ready in case you find yourself in trouble." The bishop said, quote, "Not everyone can be a Jonathan Daniels, but we're increasingly called to go into places that feel dangerous." Well, that Episcopal bishop in New Hampshire was doing that interview with NPR yesterday. At the same time, Catholic Archbishop Timothy Broglio was doing an interview with the BBC. Now, Archbishop Broglio is the archbishop who serves the U.S. Armed Forces for the Catholic Church. And Archbishop Broglio was asked in this BBC interview yesterday about the prospect that President Donald Trump may order the U.S. military to invade Greenland, to try to seize Greenland for the United States. Archbishop Broglio told the BBC, quote, "It would be very difficult for a soldier or Marine or a sailor by himself to disobey an order such as that. But, strictly speaking, he or she would be within the realm of their own conscience. It would be morally acceptable to disobey that order." So, yesterday, in one day, we have the Episcopal bishop in New Hampshire explaining that his clergy need to have their wills written and their affairs in order because they may be called to stand up against tyranny in the United States right now to the point of dangerousness, to the point where their lives may be at risk, to the point where he is talking about martyrdom in his church. The same day, the Catholic Archbishop for the U.S. Armed Services says it would be morally acceptable for U.S. service members to refuse orders from this president to invade a country that he is currently threatening. All in one day. Then today, the very next day, the three highest-ranking Catholic clerics in the United States, cardinals who oversee Washington, D.C., and Chicago and Newark, all released a joint statement lambasting the foreign policy adventurism of the U.S. government right now, saying it calls into question the, quote, moral role of our country. And, you know, that's a lot all at once. I mean, whether or not you're a religious person, even if you are a religious person, whether or not these developments are from your faith tradition, I think it's safe to say there's something going on when big, mainline, mainstream religious leaders of very, very large, very influential religious denominations in the United States start talking in terms this stark. Start literally talking about martyrdom. Start trying to bring their moral force to bear against the behavior and actions of a U.S. president and the U.S. government that he commands. Exactly 1 year ago today, it was the eve of Donald Trump's inauguration for a second term as president. And the Catholic Archbishop of Chicago, 1 year ago today, delivered this message to the country.
Well, I wish the new administration success in promoting the common good. The reports being circulated of planned mass deportations targeting the Chicago area are not only profoundly disturbing, but also wound us deeply. For members of faith communities, the threatened mass deportation also leaves us with the searing question: what is God telling us in this moment? People of faith are called to speak for the rights of others and to remind society of its obligation to care for those in need. If the indiscriminate mass deportation being reported were to be carried out, this would be an affront to the dignity of all people and communities and deny the legacy of what it means to be an American.
If the indiscriminate mass deportations being reported were to be carried out, this would be an affront to the dignity of all people, said 1 year ago tonight, Cardinal Blase Cupich, Archbishop of Chicago. 8 months later, Donald Trump launched Operation Midway Blitz in Chicago, sending massive numbers of federal agents effectively to terrorize that city and hunt immigrants in the streets, hunt immigrants, and ultimately hunt their defenders. Cardinal Cupich responded by saying this.
Families are being torn apart. Children are left in fear, and communities are shaken by immigration raids and detentions. These actions wound the soul of our city. Let me be clear. The Church stands with migrants.
Weeks later, the U.S. Conference of Catholic Bishops made headlines when they issued a statement on behalf of the 200-plus bishops in the U.S., condemning the administration's policy of indiscriminate mass deportation. Cardinal Cupich was a key voice in drafting that statement. He has been outspoken about the moral imperatives of this moment. And that was true again today. Today, he and two other U.S. cardinals, the archbishops of Washington, D.C. and Newark, released a statement about our country's, quote, moral role in confronting evil around the world. Quote, the events in Venezuela, Ukraine, and Greenland have raised basic questions about the use of military force and the meaning of peace. The sovereign rights of nations to self-determination appear all too fragile in a world of ever greater conflagrations. We renounce war as an instrument for narrow national interests and proclaim that military action must be seen only as a last resort in extreme situations, not a normal instrument of national policy. Joining us now is Cardinal Blaise Cupich. He is the Archbishop of Chicago. Cardinal Cupich, it's a real honor to have you with us tonight. Thank you for making the time to be here.
Thank you, Rachel. Good to be with you.
Let me ask you about this statement you and two of your fellow cardinals made today about U.S. foreign policy. Why did you feel compelled to make this statement?
Well, we were at the consistory with all the other cardinals of the world, and we heard voices of great alarm about what was happening in the United States, particularly the breakdown of the consensus that we've had in the world since World War II about the way that we handle conflicts, the easy turn to war and violence and military action, the sovereignty of nations, and the dialogue that must go on with allies in order to solve difficulties. We saw that alarm in the voices and in the expressions of the cardinals from around the world. And then subsequently, right as we were leaving Rome, the Holy Father gave his talk to the diplomats of the world who are in the Vatican. And he gave us a language to speak to the issues that we believe need to be addressed following what we heard from the cardinals around the world.
Obviously, the church is a nonpartisan institution, and we have a secular government, and we have the separation of church and state in our country. But the church obviously also speaks with moral force and speaks in some ways on behalf of the millions of Catholics of all different backgrounds in the United States. I wonder if it takes some bravery on your part and the part of your fellow cardinals to speak the way that you are and the way that you have against a secular administration, a government leadership that has had no qualms whatsoever about not only denouncing, but taking as many actions as they can to harm those who criticize them.
Well, first of all, we're citizens too. We have a responsibility for the good of the nation and the common good of the world. So there really should not be any hesitation on our part to offer what we can from our own tradition, but also to recall in history how the world has come together since the Second World War in order to solve problems. I'm old enough to have lived in those years post World War II, where I saw the United Nations come together, where treaties between allies, especially in NATO, were drafted. And when we see that those kinds of ways in which multilateralism has been built evaporate now, we can speak to those issues from our own experience, but also from the basis of our own moral teaching.
Cardinal Cupich, we're speaking tonight while you are in Chicago. Obviously, that's your diocese. Chicago has really been through a lot in these last couple of months. I have to ask for your reflections, not just on what the government did to put immigrant communities and immigrants and the people of Chicago broadly in such difficulty over the past few months, but the response of the people of Chicago. Your reflections on the way people responded to this influx of federal agents, the mutual aid actions that people took to try to help immigrant families and immigrant communities, and the way people peacefully protested against federal agents trying to stop the mass deportation campaigns that you have condemned.
Well, I think there was an appreciation of the fact that Chicago is the immigrant city. We are, even this day, in the Catholic Church, we celebrate Mass in 26 different languages. So we have our finger on the pulse of what an immigrant community is. And so we have organized from early on legal services for people, ways in which we can support them materially in terms of food and necessary ways in which they can visit hospitals or doctors to give that kind of support. And people have pulled together in order for that to happen. So I'm very proud of that, but I'm not surprised. At the heart of who we are in Chicago here is a deep appreciation of our immigrant roots.
Cardinal Blase Cupich, Archbishop of Chicago. Sir, it is an honor to have you with us here this evening. Cable news, talking with somebody of your position in the church is a very rare thing, and I'm conscious of what an honor this is. Thank you, sir.
Well, I hope it's maybe the first of other chances we can get together.
Me too. Thank you, sir.